There has been a lot of confusion about a certain user on YouTube. There have been a lot of rumors, assumptions, and suspicions that aren't correct about this user. Why? It's because they weren't around at the time he was. They have no choice but to assume things that weren't true. But I was there. I know what happened, and I'm here to put the rumors and lies to rest. This is the story of Cybertoad707. His beginning, his rise, his fall, and where he is today. This is told from my perspective. It all started several years back when I joined YouTube. I had no intention of making videos, only to watch the videos of others. That's when I came across a user named Cyberwolf087, or T4TV. We will refer to T4 simply as the Wolf. The Wolf's rants were the best I had seen, and I hadn't watched a lot back then, so I decided to subscribe. But one day, a new user made his presence known on YouTube. This user was named Cybertoad707, who we will refer to as the Toad. No one had any idea who he was at first, so we were friendly to him. That is, until he started to rant. The Toad was a ranter, but not a good one at that. His biggest problem was that he always copied the Wolf. Not just in the way his channel was run and his videos. He would pick the same rant topics as the Wolf and literally say the same things the Wolf had already said.
Wait a minute. What has Superman got to do with it?
I'm in this hole. And he even said Superman that hole. What does Superman have to do with the song?
As you can probably imagine, people caught on to this and they didn't approve of the Toad. But the Toad wasn't always a ripoff. He occasionally made rants about topics the Wolf had not. But this didn't help him much. He ranted about odd topics like Subway kids meals, internet dating, the video now, and even the red box. People didn't like these rants because they seemed really childish, which really fueled the suspicions that the Toad was an underage user that really didn't belong here. That's when the hatred began. After I had been on YouTube for a while, I began to feel inspired by the Wolf to start ranting myself. So I began. I was not very good, but I did not get nearly as much hate as the Toad. But because I became a ranter, I was acknowledged by the Toad. The Toad and I quickly became friends. I liked being friends with the Toad because I knew I would have an easier time becoming friends with him than I would with the Wolf. And the Toad liked being friends with me because we both enjoyed ranting. But as strong as our friendship became, it did little to stop the hatred the Toad received. Soon, the Toad and I began to do Skype discussions, where we worked together to rant on certain topics. It was fun, and it helped make me become more noticed on YouTube. But me being there also couldn't help extinguish the flames of hatred that grew around the Toad from the YouTube community. The Toad's common response to the accusations of ripping off the Wolf was that the Wolf inspired him to do what he does. But then, everything changed when the Wolf discovered the Toad's rants. The Wolf began by giving the Toad criticism. He originally didn't care that the Toad copied him, but as time went on, that began to change. The Wolf made a rant about the Toad, and again told him to be more original, to improve. The Wolf's subscribers followed the Wolf's message and began throwing criticism at the Toad. The Toad's response was that he acknowledged his mistakes and promised to improve. At this time, we assumed the drama would end. We were wrong. The Toad did not change in his ranting style, and he seemed oblivious to the criticism that continued to stack upon him. I stood back and watched as this all happened, feeling powerless to help. I dared not turn against the Wolf, my inspiration, and the Wolf was right. The Toad was unoriginal and would not change, even though he accepted criticism. But at the same time, I could not join in on attacks against the Toad because the Toad was my friend. So I stood aside. This was the beginning of the end. After this point, every video the Toad made would only bring him closer to the end. As time went on, the Toad began to drift away from the wolf as his inspiration, and was no longer inspired to rant by the wolf. Instead, he turned to random DCE, who we will refer to as the cat. The most infamous video the Toad has made to date that marked the end of the Toad and the final nail in the coffin was his handy-dandy guide to Cartoon Network. It was horrible. The steps were not well made. The visual representation was bland and unconvincing. But the most unforgivable thing he did was attempt to speak with a British accent, even though he was not British. It was such an awful butchering of the language, and the video itself was not that good, that it spawned many commentaries and even more hatred, parodies, and videos that attacked the Toad personally. It was a time of great hatred, and for the Toad, there was nowhere to go but out. After the negative criticism, the Toad closed his account and retired from ranting. He slowly faded away. I made an HDD to help him, but it was simply too late. After that point, the Toad was quickly forgotten by the critics, the haters, and the wolf. But it never departed from my mind, nor from the minds of the friends the Toad had. The Toad did return to YouTube under a new account, named Gardentio, but things were not the same. The Toad walked away from ranting the day the Toad account was closed, and he never looked back. Instead, he began to upload video game music and videos about Mega Man. He also did a few occasional commentaries, which were praised for the most part, but he closed his account later on. The reason why is still a mystery to this day. After the Toad closed the Gardentio account, he moved to a third account. It's at this new account where the Toad resides to this day. If you really want to meet Cybertoad, his new account is AmpharosMan64. But there is something you must be aware of. Cybertoad has changed since the beginning. He is no longer hated. He doesn't rant, but he is actually quite respected. Ampharosman doesn't mind being called Cybertoad. He acknowledges his past. He acknowledges his mistakes. He is definitely a lot more mature than he was back then. His knowledge comes from common sense. He has become independent and doesn't rely on others to make an identity for himself. Also, his voice has definitely gotten a lot deeper. Seriously, watch a Cybertoad video, then watch Ampharosman's rant that he posted today, and you will see a major difference. But there is one thing that you must be aware of. There is a user that looks similar to Cybertoad. You can find Cybertoad's videos on YouTube. It's the author of the videos, or the user, should I say, is from what appears at first glance to be Cybertoad707. But it's not. His name is not spelled correctly if you look closely. If you come across this user, don't be fooled. This is not him. It's a troll account that stole his videos. Just be careful and don't be fooled by what you see. So why is Cybertoad so significant to this day? Maybe because even if he didn't succeed as a ranter, he at least did what was best. He closed his account and came back when he was more mature. He helped me get started on YouTube, and I am grateful for that. And I made a great friend in the process. But he also proved that even if things don't work out the first time, you can still return and try again. By learning from your mistakes and your past, you can become a better person in the present and the future. Thanks for listening. This has been Brawlmaster08 signing off.